Hello, everyone. I'm Andrew Can, and if I can, you can too. Today, we're going to be discussing all about 5 mistakes you should be avoiding on your YouTube journey. Now, if you are unaware, YouTube is a long journey. It is a marathon, not a sprint. Whether you've been around my channel for a while or you're brand new, I'm just going to set who I am. So, as I mentioned, I'm Andrew Can, and my firm belief is that if I can, well, then you watching can too, whether that is Daily Reindeer 69, thank you for chatting in the pre chat, or Aaron's House of Legos, or anyone who is coming, watching live, or watching the replay. And I've been around YouTube now for 10 years, which is kind of insane to say. And I'd say my biggest notoriety piece would be I helped grow TubeBuddy to where it is today, which is over 500,000, 25,000 subscribers when I left. So I was able to help bring that channel from 6,000 to over 500,000. And I bring that all up to say is that a lot of the mistakes I'm saying today, I've made in my own way, or I've actually am still getting over. And I think it's important to really bring and level set that as we start here on the live is that it is okay if you make mistakes. What's more important is that you acknowledge them and you move on from them, or you work to get better at them. So while we may be focusing on kind of a negative in some people's opinion, obviously no one likes to make mistakes. You can learn a lot more from a mistake than you can a success. And sometimes in the mistakes, you can make something better. So the first mistake I want to talk about, and this is a mistake that I've been pretty guilty of. So this is mistake number one. Now, keep in mind as we go through, you can feel free to mention your own stories, whether in the live stream or in the comments. And of course, you can always just make sure you are listening if you don't want to input. But the main thing I want to talk about is mistake number one, and I was really guilty of this, is not translating or being transparent with your audience, right? Not communicating with your community. Now, what do I mean by that? Whether you're just starting or you are building an existing audience, one thing that is so important is that you really are being communicative with your audience, whether you have one subscriber or whether you have 10,000, 10,000,000 conversations, communication is key. And what I mean by that is a lot of times, and I've made this mistake, instead of letting your audience know, hey, something has happened in my personal life, I need more time on this video, creators will just publish a unfinished or not produced video. And that can happen a lot. A great example of communication is I wasn't actually sure if I was going to go live today. I didn't know what to do, but I wasn't communicating with my audience here on YouTube. This is something I actually made the mistake of really recently. I wasn't planning on making this mistake, mind you, but that's the thing about mistakes. You don't really plan for them. So if you don't follow me on Twitter, I actually recently, and I mean yesterday at the time of this live stream, broke my phone, which is one of my biggest pieces of content creation. It is what I use every single day. It is how I communicate when I'm not creating. And yes, I have my computer and I'm fine. I have another phone. I use this as a teleprompter. I've just been using this in the meantime. The point is, I didn't communicate very well with my audience when it came to changing this. Obviously, this happened last minute, but it goes to show that even though I know I need to be better at communicating, I still have some ways to go. Now, if you want a pro bonus tip, this is my phone here. I'll put an extra light on for us. And that is this, if you could see here, hopefully you can. You should be able to see that it cracked. Now, I did, in theory, everything you're supposed to do when it comes to, a smartphone. I had a case for it, came from Samsung themselves. I have a screen protector, which you can kind of see is very smudged. But there is something that is called an edge-to-edge display when it comes to this kind of phone. And for me, it hit right on the edge that isn't covered because, of course, that is what would happen, right? So when it comes to things like that, it's understanding that even though you've done everything you can, you still got to expect what you can't really get used to. And even though you tried to do everything right, mistakes are going to happen. So I was being sure to communicate on Twitter, but I forgot to communicate here. We have the community post. Now, granted, I was not necessarily in the right state of mind. Also, it's hard to post on this device right now. If I turn it on, you can see the extent. The bottom half of the screen becomes a rave, so I'm going to put that down just in case there's anyone with photosensitivity issues. But that's a mistake that I tend to still make to this day, not clearly communicating with those who are watching you. And that brings us pretty much into mistake number 2. Now, mistake number 2 is huge. Now, there are two kinds of people that, no, okay, there's multiple kinds of people that are going to watch you on YouTube. Now, this can be your core audience. These are people who are your subscribers. These are known as your community. Then there is the audience. Community and audience are similar, but they're not the same thing. Your community are people who have subscribed, come back, and are watching regularly. People like you in the live streams. I see Homekeeping Channel, great to see you. And people like I mentioned earlier, they are your community. They're the people that come back. They join things outside of your main platform. So for me, it's YouTube, right? So these are people that might join my Discord server over the 100 of you who have. So, and thank you so much for that. If you'd like, you know what? I'll just make sure if Ike is watching this, join the Discord server, link in the description. But the main thing is that the audience are people who have never seen your content. Those are people who might be searching, looking for new content, and you want to make sure that you don't call and you don't confuse the two. The community are the people who've already found you, who are watching actively. And the audience is the people you haven't reached yet. So those are the people when you go into your YouTube analytics, you can see in your impressions, your reach, the people who have yet to find your content. So you want to make sure that you're not confusing your community for your audience. While they're very similar, they're two different people you're trying to reach. And when you're making content, you need to think, am I making this for my community, people who know me, people who get me? Or am I making this content where people who know me will understand it, but people who don't can get value? And again, value can be they enjoyed it, they learned something, or they just spent a lot of time and again, could be enjoyed it or entertained by it. So again, making sure you understand the difference between community and audience, because that's something I didn't understand until honestly I started working at TubeBuddy and helped grow that community there, because the audience were the people we didn't reach yet, and the community were the people that were there and loyal. So understanding that difference, small but huge. Now, the next question I actually have a question here, and this goes, isn't a mistake. Is it still okay to make videos even if you're dealing with depression? This is a very serious question, Aaron's House of Legos. As someone who's dealt with depression in his own ways, for me, creating content was an escape and a healthy way to channel that energy. If you are feeling down, I first and foremost recommend seeking help in any way you can. That would be my next thing. Second, it is okay not to create when you are not feeling it. What I would say is if you enjoy creating, if you enjoy doing what you do, a lot of time what gets us, and this goes into mistake number 3, is we try to do it all at once. So this goes into mistake number 3, and it's paralyzing yourself with just how much there is to do on YouTube. And this can go right into depression too. Sometimes life, there's so much that goes on that it just seems overwhelming, undoable, and that can be bad. However, like in content creation or anything, you can break it up piece by piece. You don't have to do all of it in one go. That was a mistake I made. I used to take forever to make videos because I believed I had to film it, shoot it, edit it all in one day, and it was just slow. And while I was having fun doing it, it wasn't the most productive use of my time. And that's something I had to learn the hard way, is that sometimes we do things because it's what we're used to doing, not because it's the best thing for us. And so, similarly to depression, sometimes we get stuck in a rut. Depression can be seasonal, it can be diagnosed. Again, I recommend seeking help, especially. I would just say know that it does get better, that things will pass. That's something I wish I knew when I was younger, that this too will pass. And I hope you can get, back to a good place. I hope you can get the help you need. But similar to mistake number 3 is take things a section at a time. Work on the video first. If you're doing voiceover, maybe do that. If you're doing video and voice at the same time, film one piece at a time, a day by day, when you feel good. So that's something you can think of. And Homekeeping Channel even says, I do videos every other week because it helps with my mental. Weekly is too much. And again, knowing yourself is important. I know consistency is one of those things that everyone talks about, and consistency is super important. But you shouldn't put consistency over your mental health. And that is a fine line to walk. And hopefully that's able to help you. And again, mistake number 3 can be trying to do it all at once and then, just struggling. And I hope that you're able to get your some help, Aaron, House of Legos, and I'll be thinking of you, man. All right. Well, mistake number 4, continuing on this vein, is going not the vein of depression, the vein of mistakes, is going to be talking about a phenomenon that I see, and that is not knowing where to get good information. Because with the internet, there's so much out there. And just because something ranks high in search, and I think we've all experienced this, doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to be a value add. In fact, there might be someone who might find this live stream right now who's thinking, yeah, actually, I don't think this stream is valuable. And that's completely fine. Everyone is entitled to their opinion. One of my favorite quotes from Dita Von Teese is that you can be the sweetest peach in the tree. There's always going to be someone who hates peaches. So, what I mean by that, and finding good information, is how do you find good information? Well, I always, when it comes to YouTube, look for a few things that can kind of help. One, have they grown their own or someone else's audience? Again, a lot of times you may not see them grow their own. Again, I think I'm a great example of this. I was able to help grow a big community, and I'm finally able to do this back here. Two, how often are they posting? If they're not posting frequently, are they showing you where they are posting, who they are helping? 3, are they YouTube certified, especially when it comes to YouTube? A lot of people don't know there's a certification you can look for. Now, excuse me, the course can kind of be the same course year over year, so it may just be that their certification is the same overall, but again, you can always ask for it if they have it or if they're presenting it. And then, there are always some of the people on YouTube that, if you look, have such good reputations, have written books. And again, watch, learn, absorb, see who you like. For me, here's some recommendations that I've just gotten the chance to work with over the years, when it comes to content. And so, why don't we go ahead and switch over to the face cam here? One book, this actually comes from the people from, you may recognize Sean Cannell and Benji Travis. They are part of a really good team that help YouTubers. This is YouTube Secrets. If you're looking for 100 live streaming and digital media predictions, Ross Brand, good friend of mine, has created a book that can help you with live streaming. I am a little biased, though. There are 2. I'll just grab this one. I am in this book, very biased. Just think I should mention my biases. Great to see you there, Video for Bosses. Another great book is from my friend Brian G. Johnson. Now, keep in mind, just because I'm friends with them doesn't mean I have not learned from them, nor have they not helped hundreds and thousands of people. So Brian G has a great book. I've also had the luxury to get this book signed by a lot of the people. It's a little too, might be a little bit too bright because it's all white, but great book. Now, the YouTube Formula by Daryl Leaves. You might see Daryl Leaves mentioned quite a lot. Daryl Leaves has helped people like Mr. Beast, if you are into that. Daryl Leaves' book is fantastic. It even has a foreword right here. I don't know how well you can read that, but it's foreword by Mr. Beast, aka Jimmy Donaldson. And so these are just some people I trust when it comes to it. But there are other books and other resources just for authorities in different spaces, right? So this book is called The Notebook of Michelangelo. Michelangelo is one of the world's best sculptors who also could paint. But if you read this, you would know he preferred to be called a sculptor. There's also books like this, which is Palette Perfect, which is literally a design book, which helped me design the Can Do, creator community logo. If you have seen that logo maybe on my banner, or if you're on my Discord, I actually really enjoyed this book and it helped me a lot in terms of that. So again, there we go. Don't know what happened to the overhead. Again, this book can be really helpful when you're looking for design. And last but not least, if you're looking for a really good resource, someone who might be a little different approach, but really knows his stuff, Roberto Blake just came out with his own book, Create Something Awesome, today. And it really has a really good in depth look on how to make money, how to do so much. Creators should definitely check out this book. If you're not, I'll make sure to include a link to the description for some of these books down below if you're curious and if you're watching the replay. But really, you can always find trusted sources, whether you vet them through your own experiences, trying out what they say, looking what other people's have said. And it doesn't just have to be YouTubers, it could be anything. There's filmmaking resources, there's so much out there. So look for good information. And the fifth mistake I see, and this is something I see quite commonly, is that when people make the mistake of absorbing information, but they don't put it out in execution. What I mean by that is if I tell you these 5 mistakes and you're like, I hear them, but you don't work to get better at them, then it becomes a problem of you're aware of it, but you're not working on it. And that's something I'm still getting better at too. I'm aware of the issue I made earlier, and I did work on getting better. I tweeted about it, but I didn't do everything I could. That's something where after the stream, I'm going to get better at. For example, I knew I was going to feature some books maybe 10 minutes before. I could have featured them before, didn't think about it. But again, it's getting better at things. So, whatever you learn, it's very important that you also implement. I often say a sponge full of water is useless until you wring it out. Knowing when to wring out that information is crucial. And I hope that when you learn from these mistakes, that you can think, how can I avoid making them or learn from them to not make them as frequently? And again, it's not so much about never making mistakes. We're all human. It's it's apparently about dying. No, I'm just kidding. It's about how can you minimize them. A mistake I made is I should have done this, but I will make sure to wash my hands later. Jokes aside, it's how can you minimize the mistakes you're making? So I have a question here from Daily Reindeer 69. How did you feel when you started posting videos? So I've been posting videos longer than I've been in the space professionally. So I said I've been in the space for almost a decade. I've been posting videos since about 2016, not 2016, 2006, right? Back then, for me, it was just the thrill of the ability to post a video. That to me was wild. You got to remember, there are kids today who are alive who've never known a time before YouTube. That too is wild. But the thing is, when I was a kid, the idea of being able to post a video online, people could watch and comment and see is so new. And it's still to this day one of my favorite things. So when I started posting videos, I was just happy to be here. As you get older and as you're a little bit more critical of yourself, I didn't want to be in videos anymore. When I was younger, I'd be in camera, no problem, but I became self-conscious. And what helped me get out of that is my old boss at TubeBuddy is like, I want someone on camera. You're good on camera. I wasn't at the time, but he says you're good at least speaking. So it was a skill I learned and I've gotten better at it. So I'm back to feeling great about posting videos again, but that's a really good question. And I really like that. So I felt really good when I started, learned to love it again, and now I'm feeling even better than I ever have. So I really like that question. A plus Russian, great to see you, says Andrew with the dark humor. It wouldn't be me without that humor. But dark humor can definitely help. This is now the silhouette zone. I don't think this is dark humor you meant. Aaron's House of Lego says, I can't imagine not having YouTube. There was a time before YouTube, and it wasn't bad. I mean, I mostly read, played a lot of video games, at least in my day. There are other people on here who were even older than me. But for me, I would just play video games, read books, play outside. Still did that with YouTube, but to each their own. You mentioned House of Legos. Still love Legos. Build a Lego set with my girlfriend not too long ago. It was the Tangle Castle. Still build Legos to this day. A plus Russian says, I'm stopping by to support. Probably can't stay the entire time. Have a great stream. Thank you. Before YouTube's was dark times. But here's the thing. From dark, light will come. And, YouTube came. This actually goes into another point we can make on, it's not really a mistake, but it goes in the same realm of being adaptable, right? There was a time before YouTube. Now YouTube's here to stay. There was a time before vertical videos, TikToks, Reel, and Instagram, and all the different ones had us swiping like this. Vertical videos are here to stay. And I see so many people afraid of having their phone like this. Trust me, I'm one of them. In my film school heart, you hold a phone like this, not like this. But here's the thing: people love watching content like that. I love TikTok. I'm on it. I like shorts. I'm on Reels. I made a short. I made 3 shorts recently and been having a lot of fun with it. This will be mistake number 6, hidden and bonus one. Do not be afraid to try something new because you're not used to doing it. It is okay to not know what you're doing. It is completely fine to be learning as you go. Because guess what? A lot of times that's where creativity can come from. I've seen a lot of creators who are either brand new, embrace shorts and love them. But I've also seen a lot of creators who are older and are like, it's a fad, it will pass. But here's the thing. That's what people said about YouTube when it first came out. We're talking about back then. Don't be the gatekeeper that people were to us when we started on this platform. Do not forget our history. And that is that we should embrace the next generation of creators and finding platforms and revenues and avenues that they can be successful and have fun on. So when it comes to, you know, new formats, new mediums, have fun with them, try them out, but always keep in mind your audience. And your audience are the people that you want to reach with your message. Again, for me, I want to help people learn how to create better content on YouTube. So, how to make better content, so filming and on YouTube is the platform I love. And I combine those two with a simple message that if I can, you can too. And let's eliminate that when, the I will create when. So, don't gatekeep, try it. If you don't like it, you don't have to use it, but don't down others who are enjoying it. And that's something that at first I was finding myself doing. And then that was the mistake I made too. I mentioned I make them too. I was starting to say, but then I realized, what if someone said that to me? What if I never created because I actually listened to that and I'm like, I'm not going to be that voice. So create shorts, create vertical content. If you don't like it, don't consume it. If you love it, keep creating. I see from Dane Lee Reindeer 69, what book was your favorite before video games? So I liked Magical Treehouse when I was growing up, just a lad. I liked the Judy B. Jones. I liked a lot of the Hardy Boys books, things like that. Those are the kind of books I liked. As I became older, my girlfriend introduced me to Percy Jackson, good young adult there. So yeah, nowadays I find myself reading books on subjects I'm super interested in. That could be why I have a plethora of YouTube books. I also have some fitness-based books. I have books around history. That's kind of all the things I enjoy. See, from Aaron's House of Legos, I love Hardy Boys. Same, so good. Just all I have to say. I see from Video for Bosses, absolutely. Hopefully that's talking about not gatekeeping new media. Experimental buckets for the win, says A plus Russian. A plus Russian, I know you are killing it on vertical content. Maybe that's something, if you would ever be interested, we could talk about your experience with. Would love to have you on the channel. Let me know what you think. Become a Prime says, I do that too. I've been so hard on vertical stuff and now I consume more of it than non-vertical some days. You see? I was the same bucket, man. We cannot be those who came before. We cannot gatekeep people's enjoyment. Not today. I feel like I need a spray bottle sometimes, even for myself, where I'm like, no, stop it. Did not make mistake number 1. I'm recovering from being a little sick, not COVID. Still to this day, I've not gotten COVID. Of course, if I get in the future, that will be another thing. But be safe, wash your hands. Still something I have to do after this live stream. But something I just wanted to bring up there was, an extra mistake. I know I said 5, but I gave you a couple more and a bit of advice. So, of course, we've reached that point of the stream. Where does anyone have any questions? With that, if you have a question and you're watching the replay, I will make sure to come back to it. I really do appreciate everyone who is joining me live here today. I also want to mention that if you are enjoying the stream, you can live stream like this too using Streamyard. Streamyard will have a link in the description down below. I do work with Streamyard, helping them run some of their YouTube stuff. So just wanted to make sure I disclose that. The link will be an affiliate link, but I do enjoy Streamyard. You can do so much for free. You have guests on your stream, share your screen, have graphics like I've shown you here. It's really a great product, and I hopefully you check it out. So, I think that, you know, when it comes to YouTube and a lot of the mistakes, there honestly a lot of them I could make another stream like this talking more and more, but I wanna know, are there any mistakes that you watching or you, whether you're live or in the replay, have made, and how can you help other people avoid them? I think that learning when it comes to, you know, just from others, seeing where they have been able to acknowledge, "Oh, that's where I messed up, and that's how I changed," that is sometimes more valuable than anything. I do think it's a great way to learn. I see from A plus, I don't know if killing it would be how I describe it. Some of my shorts get views right away, others just sit there. Now that is also learning that platform, man. The first short I did, woo! Second one I did, woo! Third one I did, woo! It's like it's a little inconsistent. So yeah, shorts are a weird one, aren't they? Have you ever had a nervous time starting YouTube? Absolutely. I think that if you ever watch the early videos I did at TubeBuddy, you'll see that I'm terrified to even be on camera. This is after years of not being on camera. I mean, I was making videos 2006 to about 2009, like nothing. I'd say maybe up to 2011. And then from 2011 to like 2015, I was not on camera. So that's 4 years, going from 4 years of being on, 4 years of being off. So coming back, I was super nervous about being on camera, and it was not something I was happy to do. So it was one of those situations where I decided, mostly because of my boss at the time, that if I'm going to be on camera, I should probably get better at it. Now, one thing that helped me a lot, not getting nervous, was using things such as teleprompters. Some people are very anti teleprompter. They're like, it's faked. It's not your real thoughts. I'm writing in my voice what's on the teleprompter. So I disagree, but I do get that point of view. I often find it funny when those same people will then enjoy the news, which is heavily teleprompted, and they'll point to like other resources that are also scripted, and it's just interesting, right? So use what works for you is ultimately what I'd recommend here. If it is practicing, rehearsing, you don't like teleprompters, you want to script and just learn it, do that. If it is using a teleprompter because it's easy and you know your voice and you know how you'll say it, do that. Ultimately, do what helps you from getting nervous on YouTube. For me, doing those things have saved me so much time. So that's kind of it. I see from Video for Bosses. I think my mistake is quitting too early. The whole stop start thing with YouTube, when I lost confidence from my low views, that is something that, I have definitely been a victim of. If I, am really passionate about YouTube, I've had breaks on this channel. Luckily, I've been able to still build an audience and keep a lot of loyalty, but it is definitely hard, and I think that goes back to what I said in the beginning, is that YouTube is definitely that marathon, a long form race more than a sprint, which is more of a short form one. And, I think it's very important that you're able to acknowledge that, hey, one of the mistakes you made was quitting too early. But you're here now, you're watching, you're learning, and that's you working against that mistake, which is one of the things I gave. So thank you so much for sharing Video for Bosses, and also congratulations on working on it because it's important. I see from Aaron's House of Legos. The mistake I made was having more than one niche, which I have slowed now. Very interesting and valuable point. I have made that mistake too. In On my gaming channel, that's actually one of the biggest mistakes I made was while all the things I were covering were gaming, I was covering vastly different franchises. And so I segmented my audience, well, to multiple different franchises, and one franchise would really be vocal and another wouldn't, but they'd get more views and it was starting to be very confusing. So even I've made that mistake. I made it on this channel. At first, this channel was just going to be a place where I can upload and experiment. And now it's my main channel, right? So it's understanding that when you make a mistake, how can you fix it? And you said you have slowed down, which is the right course of action. For me, it's been taking a break on my gaming channel and focusing on this one. It's always about finding the best way to do things. My nightmare is when your mom walks in and says, "Wake up, time for school," and she opens the curtains. That is something I remember my grandmother doing too. I see from Aaron, aka Become a Prime. My biggest mistake, largest channel I owned, created back in '07, lost access due to getting it stuck on my first ever phone number. My advice, use authentication app over phone numbers. Truer words have never been spoken. Careful with the authentication apps, though. As someone who has had to move phones and is about to have to move phones again, we remember my first mistake, broken phone. Yeah, this is how it goes. First, the upper half works. Can't really type though. It's kind of a hard thing to do if you need your phone. But authentication apps, and this is something I had to learn the hard way. A lot of time, a lot of times, you can't easily transfer if there is something like that. That phone looks beat up. I know. The worst part is the way it dropped is it hit on the side, impacted here, and then went face up. So it never even touched the. It's again only right here on the little edge, as he tries to show. And if you look, there's a screen protector. It literally hit between the case and the screen. So mad. Fraction. The possibility. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about it. But that is something there. But you know, the thing is, ultimately, authentication apps are great. Make sure you have backups even to those, because when I broke my phone or when I switched from one phone to another once, I didn't remember to write that down, and when I had to re-authenticate, I had to email support, I had to go through a whole bunch of things to get access to things I needed again. So that was something that that is something I would definitely recommend. And yes, they do have backup transfer options, but it's not good if you accidentally trade in your old phone. So that's be my main thing. Good to see that TubeBuddy is making some fun videos now. Good to know that my videos weren't fun. To be fair, I'm glad they're doing okay, but not my problem anymore. That would be what I would have to say to that. But, you know, I'm glad they're at least trying. That is very fair. Bright lights can be very distracting. I would say though, ultimately, if you watch this far and you've been enjoying this live stream, remember that whatever mistakes you make, you can still get better. You can learn, you can get over them, and you can stop making them as frequently. Very happy that all of you who have joined me, whether you're live or in the replay, have contributed. You've learned something new here. Remember, I'm Andrew Can, and if I can, you can too. Thank you so much for watching.